Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Joshua Suli here, your host of the Impact Podcast Show. Now, before I do start, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that is listening through Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But for those that are, watching this through YouTube, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys like that. Like this video, comment, and possibly subscribe for more updates to come. But guys, before I do, really get into, introducing our next special guest, I'd like to state our mission, and our mission is simple. We're always wanting to focus on the one, really focusing on impacting one person before, really going out there to, impact the nation. One thing I really believe in is you want to first, impact your neighbor before you impact your nation. All right, so I'm just gonna say that, just to drop that in. But yeah. Now, guys, I want to get straight into it because I know that I'm going to have a mad conversation this afternoon. I've actually got my first kind of family member jumping on board, and I was really excited to ask, my first cousin, to jump on board. And it's not just because she's my first cousin, and it's not just because we're the same age, but it's purely because I've seen how she was, and growing up, being kind of the oldest in the family. But I guess also there's a lot that we can get out of today's podcast in terms of our family upbringing, and where we are now in terms of our walk. She's currently working as a children and youth worker at a church, and I really want to get into talking about that today, to see her journey. I always believe that before the glory there's always before the glory, there's always a story. Yeah, that's it. There's always a story behind it. And I believe that, she's doing massive things right now in terms of the community, helping people out. And, on the Impact Podcast Show, we're wanting to, bring people up that are inspiring, and set a platform for them to impact you. And so, guys, without further ado, I want you guys to, put your hands up in the air wherever you are right now. And I want to introduce to you all my cousin, Susitina Suli.
Thank you.
Yes, how are you, my cousin?
I'm doing good. Great to be here. Very happy I get to help you out with your journey, and hopefully touch one soul through this show. Yeah.
Come on.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's good. No, I appreciate you jumping on. It's crazy because I don't see much people kind of getting their family, into a podcast. But to me personally, I feel like, you have a story. I have a story. We'll have a story. And I guess I wanted to kind of make it a lot more personal for the people out there. It's going to be really good. This is going to be really good, fam. Especially to our family that are listening to this. It's going to be funny as. But yeah, I guess, before we get into the real, deep conversations and sort of things like that, could you kind of share to people who you are?
Sure. My name is Susitina Suli. As everyone knows, I am Josh's first cousin. I'm the eldest of 4 children, Tongan, part Māori, part British. I'm a PK, preacher's kid.
Oh, come on.
Still studying, still trying to work, still trying to find my way in life. Nothing too major. That's just my little humble brag about myself.
Nah, legit. It's crazy because for us, we've been brought up in a family that it's all been about humility, always trying to humble yourself, or else you're gonna get humbled. and it might not be from your parents, it might be from someone else. If you know, you know. Nah, yeah, 100%. And I guess like you mentioned that you were PK, right? Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I want to kind of be real and transparent on this podcast. Because at the end of the day, I want to bring truth. I want to bring truth out there to certain people, and so could you kind of explain, exactly? Because I know that there's a kind of a label behind that word PK, but could you kind of explain briefly to those that don't really know about what this PK, label would mean?
Awesome. PK means preacher's kid, means the Whaiwhikao's kid, the Whaiwhikao's kid, the minister's kid.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I'm the oldest of the minister's of being a minister's kid. And that's the label our community, our PI community put on PK families. And even PK kids put that label on us. sometimes it's something that we are not proud of, or because there's so much stigma around being a really good girl.
Oh,
Or good
100%, bro.
PK.
Yeah.
But that's the whole meaning, PK.
Yo.
Just preacher's kid.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, for me, I wouldn't say I'm a PK, but I'm a GPK. So for those that don't know, my dad and, Susi's dad, they're brothers. My dad is the eldest, apparently, and so their father he was a he wasn't a PK, he was a bishop himself. So I'm actually curious. I was just thinking about myself, and I'm like, I'm in a position, I'm not a pastor at all, but there is pastoral kind of qualities that I have. I believe that I believe that when it comes to labels, it's just a title for you to understand, okay, that's your role.
Yeah.
It's just a role that you carry. I feel that there are heaps of people out there that have pastoral kind of qualities, or like your preachers or preacher qualities, but they don't kind of have that kind of identity yet. Like, they don't realize in themselves that, oh, this is actually who you are. And I don't know, I felt like, this all kind of came back from our roots. Like at the moment now, like, you're working in the church, and for me, I've done Bible college, and I'm still like leading, people in the church and certain things like that. But I guess for you, like, I want to try to kind of paint a picture for people out there. What's your thoughts in terms of, like, our family, right? Like, the Suli family. Our grandfather, was a bishop, and like, what was your thoughts about that, knowing that he was, and that we're kind of still pushing that forward at the moment?
Oh, you might get me in trouble. Nah, I think I think it's great that we can still continue the legacy our grandfather has left behind. And although I think we're both the same, we never got the chance to fully meet him, or like fully see and hear the stories of his mission work in Tonga and New Zealand. But Enoke, our grandfather, he was actually the person who helped my mom accept Jesus Christ into her life.
Yeah, wow.
Which helped my mom, fall in love even more with my dad.
Yeah.
Which children happen? There's beauty. I reckon there's beauty in what our grandparents have.
100%. Yo.
Yeah. Definitely.
No, like fully. No, fully. I
think it's good that you're doing something with it as well. Like, and we're not just sticking to, Islanders playing footy, or that typical stereotype. So I think there's beauty in it. Yeah, we're proud of what the next generation, me and you and our age group, are doing with the gifts we have, and whatnot.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I guess I'm real grateful for our grandparents, our ancestors, and I guess for us, like, we have an opportunity now to kind of break it, to break that stigma.
Yep.
And like, like people don't realize, people come up to me and they say, oh, is I see Moses Suli on TV, and they always say to me, like, oh, he's your cousin. I was like, yeah, he actually is. Like, we are related. And like, I actually realized that I didn't realize that the word Suli, right? Like, our last name is actually pretty popular. And in different ways though, like, in various different ways, not just in the footy but also in church, which is mad, which is hectic, which I love. But yeah, I guess from now I want to, like, people kind of understand who you are, and how we relate. We are cousins and certain things like that. But in this episode, what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of get right down into, like, the root behind Susi. I was I didn't fully I wasn't fully brought up with her. She lived all the way in Manly, in DY. A shout out to all the DY fam, for Susi, not for me. I barely know them. But I guess for me, as I mentioned before, I'm always about, before the glory, there's always a story. And I want to start getting into that right now, in terms of, understanding your story, because I feel like everyone has a story. And I was listening to a podcast, and Ed Milet, he's just a real king. Like he's a beast. Like he's a beast at what he does. And like he says this. He says, facts tells, but story sells. Like if you want to get people to let's say get saved, or if you want to get people to to stop doing bad things, like it's probably best, right? And I've learned this through experience, getting hidings and certain things like that. Like I learned that if someone had told me a story, if someone had told me a story instead of just telling me facts and saying you shouldn't be doing this, shouldn't be doing that, I reckon I would have listened just as much. I probably would have listened just as much as that. So I wanted to kind of get into that with you, because I feel like people would want to resonate with you. I do believe that there are PKs like listening to this. I do believe that there are PIs listening to this. I do believe too that there are people that are the oldest. They're the ones that have to have the highest standards. They're the one that probably gets picked on the most in terms of like their parents. And I feel like your story is going to resonate with them. So I guess from this point on, I want to kind of get you to, like, this is your opportunity, this is your platform, for you to share your story. So I guess that's my question. My question to you is what's the story behind Susi?
Oh, where do I start?
Anyway.
Oh, boo.
Well, let's start from your upbringing. Shall we?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start from upbringing. Yo.
Sweet. I was born and bred in Fairfield.
Yo, let's go.
Born and bred in Fairfield. Only up to the age of about 3 or 4, and then we moved to DY.
Yep.
I've always been in the church growing up. My parents always made sure that we'd go to church, and I never fully understood why until about primary school.
Yo.
I realized, we actually come to church to worship and learn about Christ. But I never ever would think or never thought that I would be in the position I am today. Yeah. Because of my upbringing. We were poor, like most PI communities and families. But my parents, like, I didn't know I was poor because I got everything I wanted and needed.
Ooh. Like, yeah, because you're the eldest, say.
Yeah, there's the perks of being oldest. But then there's also the downfalls of being the oldest. Yeah. But, like, I only grew up with Gina, my second sister, who is 19 now. She's 20 soon. And we were, like, close from the get-go. And every time would pretty much just you, Langi, Manu, and us two. I always get in trouble outside on the trampoline and swing sets. And I remember Lang CE breaking our swing set and trampoline. But, and then Latu came along. So, yeah, pretty much my whole life I've always grew up with my sisters, just counting on them and not having many friends. I'm not going to lie, I don't have many friends. And that's my fault. I think I've had too many experiences where you just have so many high expectations of someone and they never meet them. So I've just learned to don't expect anything, just accept people for who they are and what they bring to the table. Yeah. Even if it means that they don't have a seat at your table. Yes.
I actually heard a saying like that. I heard a saying, it was like, I think it was Tupac. Yeah. Bishop Tupac. Nah, jokes. Nah. I think it's just saying Tupac. He mentioned, like, like, I want you to eat, but just not at my table. Yeah. Which is totally fine. It's just like, I want you to live, but just not with me.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm heavy on that at the moment.
Yeah. Why is that though? Why is that? Like, why is that the case?
I think because I know I've had experiences where when you need someone or you need people to pull through and they don't pull through when you really need them. After I've did so much for them, not just like money wise, but being there, taking them in, just all those little things that you do as a friend or as a a person of faith. You do that for people. And it's hard though when people don't, pull through when you really need them. But I guess my parents have taught me to look at where they grew up, look at how they've been brought up. Maybe that's just the way it is for them and you can't put that unnecessary burden on them. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's been my experience with people
Yeah.
sometimes. And some of those people are our family, Josh.
Yeah. Yeah, like we don't want to get into too much context about that because we might get in trouble. But it's
So,
true though. Like, I'll probably just add on to that. Like, I put up a post on Instagram. I put a lot of stuff though. I put a lot of stuff on Instagram, but there was one I remember putting up, and it was like, you never know. Like the person that will probably backstab you the most is probably the people that are real close to you.
yep.
And I've learned that, through my experience growing up, and I guess for me, I didn't do I'm just gonna get back at you. It was more like I actually feel sorry for you. Like, I actually feel sorry that you do that because of your insecurities, and it's hard when it's our own family too, because it's like I was saying this to one of the boys last week. I was like, the hardest thing about our families is that we only see like the bad. We can see the bad in them, like every little thing that they do bad, we can see.
Yeah.
And like we don't really grace them on that, or kind of love them on everything that they're really good at. And I learned that growing up, and my brother would say that too. Like, I was always wanted to become the better man or the eldest, when I realized that I'm never gonna be the eldest, and I'm totally fine. I'm totally fine. Like, I like to be the second. I like to be like Ginna too. Like, me and Ginna probably relate with the stepping back and sort of things like that.
Straight up.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just wanting to like add on to that because I feel like there are people out there listening to this. There's probably people listening to this saying like, oh, I think that's the reason why. That's probably the reason why I don't really resonate with these people, because they're not really like adding kind of value, and it's hard. It's real hard to kind of like talk to your family about it. Because they're family. Like, you can't you can't do much about family. You can't just say, "All right, I'm not going to be friends with you." Sorry, I'm so sorry, but you guys are related. You guys are blood related. You can't. You got to work through it.
Yup. Like, it's hard though when it's your own family. But I guess that's why I'm thankful that I do believe in God, and I have faith, because it helps me give grace to people. Like, and I always think about like, who the hell do I think I am?
Yes.
Like, pushing these people down. Like, Jesus doesn't pick and choose like that. So I have no right to do that to people. But yeah, that's another challenge of being an oldest child and being a PK.
Yeah.
Yeah, showing grace to people.
No, legit. Like, I totally understand where you're coming from. Not within the PK side of things, but more so in giving grace. Giving grace to those who persecute you or put you down. And I think that's why I'm always empathetic on people. Like, I'm like, bro, I actually feel so sorry. Like, I really feel sorry for you, because you're allowing your insecurities, or you're allowing your own selfish emotions try and belittle me. I think for me, I've grown up in I want to say it's my family. Like, I love my family. I love, the upbringing that we've gone through. Like, similar to you, we were brought up in like a real poor state, not realizing, right? I'm like, bro, I'm actually like okay. And, mum would always try and do it's all right. Like, it's okay. Like, I done a talk yesterday, and I was sharing to people my story as to why I do what I do. And it's like, I want to be financially free, because I'll never forget the time where, me and Lungy went back, we came home from school. Like, we came home from high school, and I think I was 12 at the time. I think I just started year 7. Wow. And I'll never forget the time where I had hid migarines, like the migarine noodles, right? Yeah. And I hid it, and my brother found it. Like, he found out, right? And he's like, "Oh, true. So you've been hiding it one?" I was like, "Oh yeah." And he's like, "All right, sweet. I'll just have toast." And like, in my head at that time, I was like, "What the heck? Like, why do we have toast all the time?" Like, I started to question myself. And then I guess on that day, I started to realize, that's like, this is the time where I want to start working my butt off. Yeah. To make sure I can make a living and give back, because I never want to be at that position. I never want to be in a position where I'm hiding things, or our future children, are hiding things because they know that there's not enough. Yeah. And I guess that's something that we can both relate on heavily. Yeah. Is that we haven't really been brought up in a let's say, a rich kind of environment. But I would say for sure, love the in terms of love, the environment of love has like resonated in our home. But I guess I'll probably touch on that right now. That'll probably be really good talk. I guess did you want to kind of share to people, because that's something that we both relate with, and I do believe that there are people out there that can relate to that too. But I guess I guess this is a really good opportunity for you to share a bit about how your upbringing was in terms of being in that poor, let's say poor state.
Yeah.
And like for us, we were growing up in a family where it was just like, yeah, it's all good, it's all right. Like God's got it and certain things like that. But I guess did you want to kind of like share a bit about how it was for you? Living in a condition, in a poor condition.
I reckon it was really hard for my parents, and even though I didn't get to see it, I've heard stories of their struggle when I was born. They lived in Fairfield, and they moved to different houses. Your mum was part of my journey as well from the get-go.
Yep.
She took my parents in at one point and helped them. My grandma worked like 2 jobs. My father worked 2 jobs, so only my mum took care of me. But I'm really thankful that I never knew how poor we were. Like when I look back at photos, we had like the cheapest, the cheapest brand of clothes. We went to Cabra to go shopping. Had to take like 3 buses to go to church and stuff. Like it was a really hard upbringing. And then when we moved to DY, like that was still hard too. Like we moved away from all our family here there in Fairfield and out west. It was just really hard. Just hearing stories that my parents did struggle, and there's nothing I could do, even though I was only 3, 4, 5. But yeah, that was hard. And just like the story you shared, there are points of time where we just had tuna for dinner, but the way my grandma made it, it was like, oh, this is great.
Yes. Same as my mum. My mum would make all this this 5-star dish just from using let's say 1-star rating food. Yeah. That's crazy.
You're amazed about what our mothers can whip up.
100%, man.
And then here I am looking at our cupboard. What's for dinner? And then they whip up this 5-star course meal.
I honestly don't know how they do that. I don't know how. My mom does it all the time, right? She's a master at it. She'll be like, it's all right, I'll make something out of this. Yeah. I'm like, yo, that is beast. I don't know how you made it, but I don't know. It's like they get nothing and make out of something.
Seriously.
100%.
It doesn't just apply to food, but it actually applies to every part of life. My parents would see me do something small and then encourage me, and then boom.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to share on my upbringing, but it was just like what you said before. It was full of love. Never felt the need to run away or, never felt worthless in my family. Which is what young people unfortunately experience these days.
Yeah.
Even up to today, which is so sad. But I'm very fortunate that it was all full of love and so much laughter and so much mocking. I think I have thick skin now because of the amount of mocking I had to endure.
Yeah.
My parents. And one thing about growing up, we had my mum's brother with us, Uncle Suli. So he was always around. And family in my kind of eye, it's not just mum, dad, your brother, sister. It's actually mum, dad, uncle, grandpa, your auntie, your cousin who does not care about you, but he still stays with you. Family is more than just your home. It's like the extended part of you. That's my family. Yeah, I don't know what else to share from the top of my head.
No, it's okay. It's all good. No, it's all good. Because, I guess there are people out there that are probably listening to us and saying, I completely resonate with these people. I actually resonate with both of them. They're probably still living in their poor condition right now. But I guess for you, what was the one thing that made you realize, okay, I understand I'm poor, but what was the one thing that made you realize how grateful you were? What was the biggest thing that you knew straight away? You're like, yeah, sweet, this is the reason why I'm grateful to be living life through that experience?
I think when I had a certain cousin from my mom's side come over, and she was just sharing with us what she has for dinner every week and what she has to go through. And when I was listening to her story, I was actually thinking to myself, wow, I don't have to do any of those things. I don't have to work 2 jobs, or I don't have to, she just, her story was great in terms of her work ethic and just going above and beyond for her family. But that was the moment I realized how lucky I am to be in the position I am in.
Yeah.
Like, if I want something, I can just go and get it, or I can just tell my dad, can you go get me this? And I'll be like, Dad, I have a Ferrari. He'll be like, yeah, sweet, I'll get it for you. But yeah, that's how much our story as a family, or my story, has changed from trying to, what's the word? So on Monday we just have this, Tuesday we just have this, trying to make sure we have enough for each day of the week. But now it's just, if I want something, I can go get it. Like, that's how, I was just too grateful that I can say that and I can do that. And it just amazes me how much your journey and your experiences shape you, and how much it helps you mold into a person that you want to be, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it was another story that helped me realize how grateful.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that, because it makes sense, you were impacted by someone else's story, therefore you said, all right, sweet, like, now I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing on the Impact Podcast Show. Like, we're allowing you to share your story because we know someone else is going to be impacted by it. And it's not just going to be one person. There's probably going to be more than one. But at the end of the day, we're wanting to focus on the one. Yeah, which is so cool. I love that you shared that you were impacted by someone else's story, because I say to people, I'm like, you don't realize how precious your story is. Like, you might, especially, like, if I had to be real, right? I'm like, this is a podcast show, we want to be real. Like, I remember when I was doing Bible college, and there was a time where, they said, all right, we're all going to have a time to share our testimony. So I jumped up, and I remember saying to myself, oh, like, I don't have those type of stories. I don't have those type of testimonies, that came out of the gangs, or, I was drinking or clubbing or so many things like that. Like, I was like, for all those I don't know, everyone would know this in my family. Like, I was like the one that was like the good boy. I was always doing all the good things. I'll never touch all that stuff. And like, it's granted, right? I was just like, I just knew the consequences of what happened. I was like, sweet, I'm not gonna touch that. But yeah, like, I remember in class, and I said, oh, like, my testimony is not good enough. So I literally said it to the lecturer. I said to the lecturer, mine's not good enough. Like, I don't have a good enough testimony. And then she ended up telling me, she's like, what do you mean? Like, we all have a story. Like, we all have a story to play. And so that's when that's when I jumped on, and that's when I jumped on, and I said, sweet, I guess it's time for me to share the story. It's time for me to share that story. And so I did, right? I ended up sharing my story, and I didn't realize that how powerful my story is. I was comparing myself to other people. I was comparing my story to other people, not realizing that I had my own story. And so ever since then, I was like, sweet, I'm gonna tell my story to everyone.
That's so good.
And so I guess stories are so so important. People don't realize how important their stories are, and you get the opportunity to share that here. Yeah, which is going to be really good. But I guess we'll move on. We'll move on into the one thing I love doing is I love giving people like the realness of life. I don't like being like all for the clout, or just go over certain situations that are happening. Which I was thinking about. I was like, it will probably be good to talk about controversial issues and certain things like that. But I guess I want to focus on you specifically. Was there any setbacks? Because we like, I know that there's a setback, and like, by all means you can share whatever you want to share. Just know that you're going to be impacting people. But I believe that there's always a setback. For me, my setback was I got hit by a car when I was 11 years old,
Remember
and
that?
praise God that I'm still alive.
Yep.
And so that's my story, right? That's my story. I was on a setback that I had growing up, but is there a setback, or is there a real kind of struggle that you went through, that you're open to share?
Ooh, I've had plenty of setbacks. Trying to choose which one. I'll share my first one. The
Yeah.
first one that comes to my mind is ex-partner is a bad person, but I'm just saying that it was a setback because I was starting to lose who I am as a person and as a woman, and I didn't even realize it. And my relationship was starting to affect the family and in certain points. And dating in my household, it's not just about go and have dinner with that guy or meeting up somewhere, but there are actually rules that my parents have put in place. So, and it's not to make me look bad, but it's actually to protect me and my womanhood, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, like shout out to people out there who are in relationships and are not losing themselves.
Yeah.
I was starting to choose the guy over my family. Like, if he needed something, I'll be there. But if my own sister, she needed something, I would be like, go find your mom and dad. Like,
Yeah.
I was really cruel, but it was never my intention. And I knew that I needed to get my crap together and relook at what's important, who is important in my life. Because if this person is making me do those things, then yeah, I need to recap what is going on. That was a major setback. And a peace of mind and find myself again was my parents and just the life my mum was living at the moment, like being a minister. I think it helped me open my eyes to see what's really important out there. So that was one major setback I've had growing up. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So, just to clarify, it was a relationship that you went through.
Yep.
It was a relationship that you went through. Did you want to kind of explain that just quickly, because I think it did cut off. So
Okay. Yes.
yeah, we'll just try and kind of get the first part, because I was like, I'm not too sure if that actually went through. So do you want to kind of just speak briefly about the first part?
Yes. So it was a relationship. I was dating someone for 3 years. It was on and off. And I was saying before that like the guy I was dating, he wasn't a bad guy. Out of each other, it wasn't resonating with who I am and and what values I have. And that was the major setback when the relationship was starting to change me, not in good ways, but in unhealthy ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's so good. Like I actually thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that, because like I have a similar story. Like I have a real similar story to you too, and I love when people share their stories like that, because it's not easy. It's not easy to share that. You feel a bit of shame, you feel a bit of guilt, because you're like, oh snap, I don't want to bring it up, but I guess there is power in confession. People don't realize that there is power when you confess things, and this is a platform where you get to share that. And I'm actually thankful that you were real transparent, because I know in my kind of like my circle, or like people that I speak to, there is a lot of people that are in relationships right now where it is unhealthy. Like it is unhealthy to the days. They don't have like solid foundations. If I had to be real, they probably don't know who they are, like as in within themselves, or they don't know who they're actually with. They're only going. I see it like this. It's like they're only going based on what they see, not on who they are. Like they're only focusing on what they are as opposed to who they are. And I'm like, that's a big difference. If you actually know your significant other, if you actually know your partner, in terms of who they are, it makes things a lot more clear. And I'm guessing, just from the sound of, just like listening to what you were saying, it sounded like you didn't really know who you are or who you were as you were going through. Like, is that something that you would agree on, or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when I started the relationship, I thought I knew who I was.
Oh,
Next minute,
legit, legit.
I thought I knew who the hell I was, but then next minute, I had no idea. But it was a good learning curve. Yeah, I still appreciate the friendship I had with my ex-partner because it wasn't just bad times; it was all good times as well.
Yeah.
But I feel like people just don't. They just like to enjoy like the view, or they just like enjoying what the other person can give them for the short period of time. And that's why I love the talking stage. Like, talk, find out who they are.
Yeah.
What do they bring to the table? How can they help you with your journey? Can they help you? Can they provide for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. Can they?
Yeah, can they? Will they? I mean, we can all talk. It's so easy to talk.
100%.
The hardest part is putting those words into action. And I feel like young people these days, and I'm a sucker for it, but we love words. Words,
Yeah.
they feed our ego. We like it. We're human. We're built for that.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people need to just have a stop and think, will that person help me? Yeah, don't just invest because your emotions are high at the moment. Actually think, be intentional. But that's hard for young people.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's a lot harder too because, crazy enough, like we're doing similar studies at uni. And I'm not sure if you would have learned this, but I remember learning in some sort of unit. It was talking about, the lifespan development. I don't know if you've done that. Did you do that at all?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, how I was just talking about, like, your adolescence and, the certain stage and, egocentrism and certain things like that. I'm not getting into too much detail, but I started to learn that when they hit their stage of puberty, or when they hit the stage of like youthhood, or like adolescence hood, or whatever you want to call it. Like there's this thing called your ego. Your ego starts to kick in. You start thinking that you're a lot more tough, like because I don't know, you've got. You feel a lot stronger, or you feel like you're the man. And so there is a time in a stage where you start to feel like you're all there. And so you start to do all their things. You start to be like, yo, I'm the man. Like I don't have to wash the dishes, or it's all right. I'm just gonna give an attitude to my parents. Yeah. For all those out there, all the PIs, you would know exactly what happens after that. Yeah, massive hiding. But I've learned that we all have experience, and it's all a learning curve, and we're never actually going to get there. We're never actually going to have the perfect relationship.
Yep.
That's the way I believe it. And I'm going to be real on this. It's like, I guess the only perfect relationship that I know is with Jesus, right? That's probably the only perfect relationship that I'll ever have, in my life is my relationship with Jesus. Like for me, obviously, it will be hard for me to be perfect, but because he is perfect, and he makes us perfect, it's just a different story. But I guess for you, right, like you've gone through that experience, and in terms of the experience that you went through, what was like the biggest kind of learning curve that you had gotten out of that relationship, or even just that setback that you went through?
I think the biggest learning curve was letting someone outside get inside my family.
Oh.
Like that was a big learning curve, and it was a big fat reality check as well. And it was hard. Like, and I always look back and I'm like, what was I thinking? Letting this guy, be number one instead of my family.
Yeah, wow.
So I think my learning curve from that was, if there's ever a friend that I meet or have a relationship, whether I like them or love them, drop it straight away, because you don't want history to repeat itself. And we can control if history repeats itself, and we can break those cycles. Yeah, that was my learning curve.
I love that.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you said that too, the family thing, because I guess we all need to understand our priorities. You know, you need to first figure out, what your priorities are now. Obviously, for people that are listening, it might be different for yourself. But in my family was always, having God first. God above everything. It's like I've learned now, like God's not even in the picture because He is, He is the priority, right? He doesn't have to be a part of the priority to be the priority. He is, and so you have that, and then you have family, and then after family, then you have like ministry, your church life, being able to minister and connect with other people, and then everything else can go under that, like whatever. But you just need to make sure you know your priorities first. And I can see that you've had that revelation, you've had that that time to reflect and be like, oh, that's the one thing that I need to kind of let go of. So I guess my next question to you now is, there are probably young people listening to this. There's either a young person listening to this, or there are people in a relationship right now who are probably going through a similar situation. They're probably putting their partners in front of, their family in terms of the priority list. And I guess, what's one thing that you could kind of say to them, to those out there, based on your experience, right? The experience that you went through, what's one thing that you could kind of share to them in terms of like some like words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. My words of wisdom, anyone out there who's in a relationship or who's about to get in a relationship, know your worth and know who you are. I think that's a main thing. And also surround yourself with good people. I believe that, the people you hang out with, you become those people.
Yeah.
So like when I had the breakup, I was so lucky I had a good family to help me with the breakup and overcome it. But I also had some really good friends as well who helped me get over it and accept it for what it is. That's my advice. Know who you are, know your value, and if people don't meet those values, then that's okay. God made someone out there for you. That's probably my advice for those lovers out there.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like, you mentioned it before about talking. Like talking is so important. Just like being able to communicate to them. Like, I remember the way that I met my partner now, Grace, and it was just through talking. Like we just spoke constantly. And today we still do it. Like we still talk to this day. Like we still kind of do the same chats that we did like a year and a half ago. Like it's still the same thing. And then I started to learn, I'm like, I actually don't mind doing this for the rest of my life. Like, and that's the cool thing. That's when you kind of know that things are gonna go well, when you don't allow like unhealthy vibes or unhealthy kind of feelings or thoughts to come in play and to kind of take over you. And I've learned that myself. I've learned that through my own experience. But I guess, yeah, like I can see that like you've learned through that, because you're probably in a much better state, not just within yourself, but within your family. Like you've kind of learned about priorities now, and also with your faith too. I can see that. I can see a different Susi than what I was seeing before. Not that I was like, focusing on it, but I can see it. Like it makes sense as to what you're saying.
Thanks, brother.
Which is really good. But I guess at this point, we've like you've shared a bit about your story and your upbringing and how like we've both lived in poor conditions. Growing up in Fairfield. I'm still in the area anyways, but and like from there going into you really sharing your setback, the setback that you went through, going through like a relationship where it was like clearly it was just like out of proportion, which is totally fine, right? It's totally fine. We learn from it and we grow from it. But I guess at this point now, I wanna kind of get people to understand what you do right now. That you like you've went through this. You went through all these setbacks. You went through like all these moments where things would have belittled you. This relationship would have pushed you down. But I guess now I want to lift things up, right? I want to get a lot more excited and change the mood. But I guess my question to you is like, what was the setup for you? What was the thing that you had done to make you who you are now in terms of that relationship that you were in? Like, what actually made you?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I know I'm really
That's
good at
hard.
questions.
That's a hard question. You give me the hard questions. Um, that's a really good question. Oh, I think I had a recent setback, but that was like
Mm-hmm.
last year. Um, the whole of last year, I had a eye condition, and I
Mm.
was going blind, and then which was really heartbreaking. I was going
Yeah.
blind. Thank God I'm not blind.
Oh, praise the Lord.
But when I had to endure I had to go through eye surgery, and the healing process was so hard. Um, I don't know. I think just seeing who I am in these setbacks, they've helped me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, like I just not trying to be boastful. Like it's so hard to be, but like I don't want to be boastful, but just seeing how I've grown in the setbacks I've had and seeing how I deal with just yeah, I don't know. Josh, I don't know. That's a hard question.
It's totally fine. Like, I can see right now that there has been somewhat of a setup for you.
Mm,
You know, there's been something that has made you the person that you are now, and I always believe this. I always believe that the setup will make you right.
that's true.
But I always believe that the setback that you have in life, you can actually use your setback to set yourself up in your life that you're living in. I feel like I don't know. I remember like I know that you went through eye surgery and certain things like that. Like my mom was
Yeah,
talking to me about that, and
yeah,
I guess that I don't know. To me, I see this is my personal opinion. Like, and you can tell me if it's wrong, or you can share yourself. But I guess you going through that, going through a moment where you're actually going to lose your sight, had what made you to be like, I can't wait to get my sight back. I can't wait to get back because I'm never going to like what's that word? Like take these for granted. My eyes. Because I feel like it's like Paul. Like I don't know, I'm getting into preaching mode, but
yeah,
it's like in Paul in Philippians where he talks about he knows how it feels to not have many,
yeah,
but he knows the same thing of like having little and much. Right? There's like he understands both. He knows how it feels to have many things, but he also knows how he feels to have nothing. Therefore, that's when he mentions I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, which is so cool because that's like us too. It's like we like because you understood how it feels to not have eyesight
yeah,
at all or like little to none,
yeah,
and then to the point to actually have eyesight. Therefore you actually like this is the reason why I know how it feels to not see, but I also know how it feels to see. Like that's I don't know, that's what I see in what you're saying. Like I feel like you're a lot more gracious, you're a lot more grateful like in what you do because you know how it feels not to have it.
yes. That's so true. No, you're right. I guess you're right. I guess.
Oh
No, you're
yeah,
100.
sorry. Yo.
I reckon you are right because after I had the eye surgery and I had to go through the healing process and then I could see properly, it actually helped me open my eyes wider, like, and have a vision for myself and not just be so narrow minded and like think myself as something little, but yeah, having the eye surgery and having to endure something so difficult, it actually helped me open my eyes way wider and like yeah, open my heart to be a bit more open and a bit more loving as well to people.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause at the end of the day, like there's already enough hate in the world and there's already enough injustices. If I can just grow and be nice to someone or shed God's love to someone, whether it's something big or small, I think that's when I'll be like, okay, I'm doing a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%, 100%. Yeah. So, yeah, knowing that you shared that, right? I want to start lifting this up now. I want to start, kind of sharing a bit about the glories that you've received. Obviously, for us, we believe that the glory isn't here. It's a lot more higher. But I guess I wanted to, get you to kind of share about, what you're doing right now in terms of the community. So did you want to kind of share about exactly what you're doing now in terms of your role as a worker, like a youth worker?
Yes, of course. So I am a full-time children and youth worker for a congregation within the Uniting Church Uniting Church. So that's like up north of
Mm-hmm.
Sydney. But I live in Oakley, so I still still drive out to the area 5 days a week, and I love the job that I'm doing. Never ever thought I would get this opportunity to be in this position. But I think my dad always tells me, I think it is only right that I am in this position because of my mom being a minister.
Mm.
But I'm also studying as well, studying part-time through Western Sydney, just to make sure I have something on my record so
Yeah.
that I can finish things.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm doing at the moment. And it's pretty good. A lot of learning and a lot of executing and growth happening in my life at the moment.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. Like I remember you putting up saying that you were going to be a children's and youth worker, and I was like, yo, that is hectic.
Yeah.
And it's cool because like just from hearing you out, like I'm pretty sure it was a choice that you had made. It was a choice that you made. Like you actually said, "No, I'm actually gonna take it." Am I correct?
Yep. Oh well, the advert for the job, like it was on our newsletter, church newsletter for like the whole year, and it still wasn't advertised. And then it still wasn't taken. And then my dad said, "Just take it, like just apply for it." I was like, "No, I don't want to apply. And just
Yeah,
let me find my own way."
yeah, yeah,
And then 2 weeks later, he said, "Apply for it." I'm like, "No." And then the next day, he was like, "Are you gonna apply for it or not?" And then I was like, "Okay." In my head, I was like saying no to my dad, but then really, I was thinking I'm saying no to God. So I
yeah.
took the initiative, did it, and got the job, and I was pretty happy. Like, never looked back. And now I'm like, never say no to dad because God will test you. Like, nah, if God wants you to be somewhere, you go and be somewhere.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even that, I've learned too that like if he didn't want you there, he wouldn't kind of like. I feel like God's really good at exposing you.
Yes.
In certain areas, and he's really good at he's like really good at advertisement. That's what I've learned. Like he will get people right to just be the light and be like, "Hey, how are you?" And then someone else will come in and do the exact same thing. Like that was with me when it came to college.
Yeah.
Like I was like, "Oh nah, college ain't for me." One person comes in, talks about college, and then I had this moment where a pastor came up to me, spoke to me about college, and I was like, you know what, stuff it. I'm just gonna do college.
Yeah.
And to me, probably the best decision that I made because everything I learned in college, if I didn't do college, I wouldn't be doing this podcast. If I was in college, I wouldn't be able to, help the people that I help now because let's be real, I was real stubborn. I was real selfish. I wanted everything my way, and my family can vouch for that. They'll be probably saying amen to this. But the way I am now, it's different because I started to realize who I was, my identity. But more importantly, I just started to realize, like, this is exactly what I'm called to do. Like, I'm called to help people. And, it was just through that moment, like, God was just, like, exposing things to me. Just saying, this is what you're supposed to do, And obviously, if it happens more than 3 times, like, usually that's a confirmation for you to be like, okay, it's time for you to wake up now. Like, get the stepping. Or else he's going to do it for you.
He will. Don't play.
So at the end of the day, it's probably just like best to make your own decision and be like, yes, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the plunge.
That's so true.
Yeah, which is like really good. But I guess at this time, I wanted to kind of get you to share a bit about what's some of the things that you're doing now in terms of you being a children's and youth worker. Like, what's some of the things that you do?
That's a good question. So I look after the kids ministry there. So primary school kids, I teach them about the Bible, entertain them during the week. I also look after our play group. So they're like our young mothers who bring their kids to our play group. So obviously because of COVID, our play group's not on, but I still try and remain connected with them and create activity packs for them and send it to them. And then I also look after So at the moment, there are just teen girls there. But I'm just trying to find my way around the people, the young people, try and see what do they like and how do they want to learn about Christ. Because I don't really believe in Bible bashing. Doesn't
Oh,
work.
yep, 100%.
People.
Yeah.
Like what you said before, stories sell. Like they really do.
Yeah.
And if we can, share God's word in a way that will resonate with these young people, I think that's when you're doing something right and not just saying, if you do this, you're going to hell, because those days are over. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing at the moment with my work. Like it's pretty full on, but yeah, it's good. Like I was saying to my parents when I started the job, I woke up for my first day and I was really excited. And then a month went by and I said to my parents, it feels so good doing something I love, because I used to work at Caltex and I would wake up and be like, oh, it's work. But then when I started this job, I'm like, oh my God, yes, get to go to work. So when I have, when you have that excitement for something you do, like that's when if that's when it's good.
Yeah, 100%. No, I love that you shared that, because that's like me at the moment now. Like I'm a warfare officer at a primary school, and there's never been a day where I've been like, this is my third year, right? There's never been a day where I've woken up and said, oh snap, I have to go to work.
Yeah.
Like every time I wake up, I'm like, bro, I'm so keen. I get to hang out with these kids, primary school kids, and run amok. Now I'm joking. We actually just chill out, we just chill out and hang. And like just spend time with each other, and I realized the massive impact that you can make just by hanging out with kids.
Definitely.
When they see like a giant, just like up there, they're like, oh, he's so cool.
Yeah.
I want to know more about him. And then when you're loving to them and just saying, hey man, like how you going? They're like, oh, he knows me.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, I know you, man. Like I see you, man. I see you.
Yeah.
But I love that you shared that. I love that you shared that you love going to work, because I always say to myself, like, just go into things that you're really passionate about. Focus on areas that you're really passionate on. It's like if you're not passionate on being a worker at Caltex or being a petrol station person, and you're just doing that to make ends meet, then obviously you're not going to actually see the full potential of yourself. Like you're only going to see probably close to half. You're not going to see the full potential. Because you're not allowing your full self to be immersed into what you do. And I'm guessing that's happening with you at the moment.
Definitely. So true. But then, like, I don't want to... I think people need to be encouraged, especially our young people. They need to be encouraged. And I want to say to them that whatever they like, it could be anything. Like, work, hustle for it. If you really want to, go for it. Like my sister, for instance, she was just doing things to please my parents. And my parents said, what do you really want to do? That we can help you, whatever it is. And so she is hustling and trying to, begin her artistry, makeup artistry and whatnot. So I feel like whatever it is that young people want to do, they have to just put their mind to it, and they have to accept the fact that it's not going to be easy. And the money is not going to come the next day, but it's going to take some time to initiate, be intentional, and hustle, like big hustle. Yeah. Whew. Just like that.
No, it's all good. It's all good. I guess for us, we've had that revelation that, because we're a lot more older, and we've gone through experience, and we're like, yo, if we can tell anything to these young kids, just go with what you're passionate about.
Yeah.
But if you're passionate about making cars, stay in it, right? Because if I had to be real, right, I'm going to be real. And I guess some parents ain't going to like this, but I'm like, bro, I'm doing this for the young people purely because you want to see the best in them. You want to see them be happy. And for me, I thank my mum for allowing me to do whatever I want to do in terms of like, Josh, if you want to be a social worker, be a social worker.
Yeah.
If you want to be a rugby player, be a rugby player. Do whatever makes you happy. I'm thankful that my mum done that, because there are people out there that are locked up, not physically locked up, but like they're locked up in their families, and their families are telling them, oh, I want you to be an architect, or I want you to be an accountant. And it's like, for what? Just for the money? Because the money ain't going to last. I always believe in this, right? Like when it comes to money can fly away. Like you can lose money. But the one thing that you can't lose is your inner joy. the joy that you have inside of you. Like, I'll never forget the time where I got that revelation, and I said to myself, you know what? I ain't gonna go do things that I don't like doing. I'm just gonna focus on things that I love doing, because that's where I'm gonna have my full self, being brought out.
Right.
100%. So I guess there are people out there that are probably listening to this and saying, yeah, I don't know what I need to do. I don't know if I should just follow my passion. Guys, follow your passion. That's my encouragement to everyone.
I reckon. Oath. Yeah, we need more light.
100%. 100%. But you know what? Like, we've come into this time now. You've shared a bit about, I would say your glory, because I do see it's a massive thing for you to be working, as a children and youth worker, especially knowing the condition that you went through with your eyes,
That's true.
with your relationship, and so with all this being said, I guess just to wrap this podcast up, I guess the one thing I want to ask you is, like, from everything that you went through, what is one thing that you could possibly share to the people out there listening?
One thing. It's hard to break it down to one thing. Hey.
Yeah.
I reckon to the people out there listening and who have resonated with my story or just bits about my story is continue to build more bridges of love and hope wherever you are, whatever platform you have, because we need more bridges. Yeah, I think that's my small encouragement. Like, whatever you do it out of love, and not because you're going to receive something, but do it because we freely receive from Christ, so freely give. Yeah. So build some more bridges, even if it's with your siblings. Build it. Yeah. That's my little encouragement to people out there. Build a bridge of love, of hope, of peace, and of joy. That's my last little sprinkle cherry on the top.
Yep, you heard it here first. Nah, it's so good. But yeah, I also want to wrap this up and say, yeah, I appreciate you guys for jumping on, and being the first family member to jump on.
That's right, everyone. It's me.
Yes, there was purpose to this, and so yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for jumping on board. Thank you for being real honest and transparent. I feel like people are getting value from this, and this is I guess probably one of the many podcasts that you're going to be on.
Oh, you're weird. No, thank you for having me. Like, just gonna do a humble brag about you. It's been so good to see you grow, and I remember the accident you have. I came to the hospital room and just seeing you in the bed, and we were all thinking of the worst, and look at you now. Like, even though we don't see each other often, but we're the family where when we see each other we can talk for days. So I'm really proud of my cousin Josh Suli. Continue to do what you do, and I just don't think you realize how powerful your work is. So keep it up. It's really good. You're giving our family name that tick. But yeah, yes. Continue to be encouraged. Really proud of you, cuz. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your words. I'm a words guy, so I love it. I love this. Yeah. No, I appreciate you. Appreciate it heaps. But yeah, guys, that is all that we got for this podcast session. But yeah, Susi, is there what's the best way that people can connect with you?
Connect with me, Facebook, Instagram. Just write Susi Suli, DM, email, anything. Like, if people need to talk, I'm here. I think people don't realize that even though I'm busy, I still make time for people. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'll give you my dates.
Yeah, sweet. So guys, for all those that are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcast, just jump into our Instagram page. It should actually be under our following. So she's one of what we do is we love to follow our special guests, each one of them. So you just jump onto that and you'll be able to see her Instagram. But for those out there that are watching this on YouTube, just the link to her social media will be in the links down below for all those that are wanting to connect with her. But guys, that is all that we got. Thank you, Cuz, for jumping on board. Thank you so much for jumping on.
All goody.
All good. But yeah, that's all we got. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.